Welcome, everyone. That's the top of the hour. We are actually just a couple minutes past. We're all set to go. So I want to thank everyone for coming today. Great audience, great turnout. This is the fully powered Microsoft Dynamics CRM with clean and fresh data, being co-sponsored by ZY Connect and Broadlook Technologies, the makers of the Microsoft Dynamics CRM suite. So if you want to hashtag tweet this event today, it's you can see at the top of the corner, it's top right hand is #clean CRM. And we're going to get going here in just a second. So if we could advance the slides, today we're going to have Donato Diorio, the founder and CEO at Broadlook, as well as David, the CEO over at ZY Connect, ZY Solutions. So as you can see here, we're showing you how to use the GoToWebinar interface. If you haven't used this before, in the upper right-hand corner, you can just use that a little orange arrow to drop out the whole screen. You can ask questions and chat away. We'll be fielding your questions as we go through the session today. That little question panel right there. So look forward to having your questions as we go, and feel free to type those in. But we want to go ahead and pass the ball right away to David over at ZY. If you want to kick things off, that'd be great.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. My company, ZY Solutions, co-presenting the event here today. Wanted to give you a little bit of background about our organization. We've been delivering CRM solutions for over 10 years now. We've done small business deployments all the way up to Fortune 500 deployments of CRM. I'm really excited about this partnership with Broadlook because it helps leverage the team of CRM professionals that we have within the organization and our best industry practices in CRM deployment by bringing new capabilities into these CRM solutions that we deliver to our clients. We have a lot of experience going beyond just a CRM deployment and also helping integrate various business systems into a CRM environment. If we could advance the slide, please. ZY Solutions is actually made up of 4 different business units. ZY Vision is the part of our organization that focuses on reporting and analytics, giving companies insights into the health of their operations by providing access to data throughout the enterprise. ZY Connect, of course, is where we deliver our CRM solutions and enterprise application integration capabilities, the ability to tie different business systems and applications together across the enterprise, make that a part of the overall experience. ZY Media delivers capabilities for providing visual enhancements to an organization's environment, whether that's building websites, doing graphic design work, building custom dashboards for delivery of information, what have you. And ZY Assets helps manage the IT assets that a company uses to run their business operations. Bringing all these things together provides ZY Solutions with the ability to go beyond just a CRM implementation and deliver other capabilities, making the overall solution that we deliver more effective, more fully integrated throughout the enterprise. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you then.
All right, Paul, I'm going to actually turn it over to Paul for a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Donato. Yeah, Paul Solinsky here. I'm the CRM Practice Manager at Broadlook. I look forward to having everyone on the line today. Glad that we could have David and Donato on the line, great thought leaders in the CRM and data quality space. So a little bit more about Broadlook. So Broadlook here, one of the co-presenters today, we are the leading developer of internet research software. For the last 10 years now, we've had these desktop and now CRM tools that provide recruiters, salespeople, marketers with a wealth of information and automated information when it comes to internet research. Over 10,000 users across 23 countries. Can't be wrong, which is great. And as I mentioned, nearly 10 years of helping salespeople, marketing, and recruiters with online research, as well as VC firms, anyone that does research online. Think of automating those research capabilities and processes. So we're the developer of the Serum Suite. If you want to advance the slide there. Serum Suite, basically, I'm going to click the little, there you go. Installs right in CRM, keep clicking, and keep Serum leads and contacts accurate. And one more click, I believe. We're limiting any data entry as well. And last click is really the end of dirty data. So when you look at CRM, it's 3 tools. We'll talk about these 3 tools a little bit later, but we want to help you find and keep leads and contacts accurate. We're eliminating the need to actually hand key or upload spreadsheets of information into CRM, and we have a solution that keeps CRM completely clean of duplicate and other dirty data. So there you go. That's Broadlook. We'll be sharing a little more about that later. Donato, floor is yours.
All right. Thank you, Paul. So this is Donato, and I like to also welcome everyone to the presentation today. Let's take a look at a little bit of evolution here. And what I'll see in going out and consulting with an organization or talking to great partners such as ZY and seeing what their clients are struggling with and where they want to go is that there's an evolution of what people want. Now, that evolution is pretty much modified by what they see. And the first thing is we hear, hey, I want more lists. Now, as I go through this, what you're going to see is that you're probably somewhere in this continuum. And then we learn that people want better databases, a better selection, and then more contacts. And, of course, you had a company, ZoomInfo, pop up several years ago, and they scour the web and they stick stuff into a database. Problem is it ages as it sits there, but it was definitely an evolution from the old static Hoover's type database. And then, of course, Salesforce bought Data.com, and they which was actually Jigsaw, and they thought that was a great thing. Well, that was some fresher contacts because it was not crowdsourced. I like to call it mob source because, of course, any crowd beyond 1,000 people is a mob. And then you've got more information where there's some news articles and things that are happening about a company. And, Inside View came out with this type of things a couple years ago. But then, of course, we've got a social network, LinkedIn, where there's more knowledge, there's connections, there's social interactions, there's strength of connections. And each of these is, in essence, a step above the last. Now, we've got, and this has really been around for a long time, but people are realizing, hey, if I can get a process in my CRM, that's and a way to keep my data via a great system like a marketing automation system to keep the data updated. Well, my CRM can keep data really fresh, especially if it's my own context I've been nurturing for a long time. And then people realize eventually, hey, I have reached a sustainable process, and that's really the direction you want to go. Because if you start with data and you end up with process, you're going in the right direction. And somewhere along this continuum, people get satisfied until they realize that their peers, their competitors, are doing the next stage. The absolute top line stage is having a smattering of these things, but in a sustainable process. And that's what we're going to be showing you today. So from my perspective, the general state of evolution in CRM processes is what good old Mr. Spock said in one of the Star Trek episodes. It's like stone knives and bearskins. Most companies don't make use of great things like dynamic CRM and the workflows, as well as the data and how it can be used in those workflows to keep your information fresh and clean. Now, today, we'll be talking about the fully powered CRM, which has 4 major attributes. It's data quality, competitive advantage, the data process, and CRM process. We're going to dive into each of these. Now, most people fall into 4 zones as it relates to how they're working with data quality, how they're working competitive advantage, how their organization sits. And you've got 3 things: data quality, competitive advantage, and CRM process. If you only have your competitive advantage, I mean, you've got data nobody else has because it's in your CRM, and you've got your CRM process, your CRM partner got your process worked out, but the data quality isn't there, most likely you're going to be forced into a quantitative selling method because you're reaching out to people, they're not always going to be there, so you're having to do that a lot to keep up. If you have the competitive advantage and you've got data quality, and this is typically people that have maybe a long-term sustainable business, but they haven't adopted CRM yet, well, they're not going to be scalable. Because without the CRM to bring all the things together, the workflows and entire business process, you're not scalable. Thirdly, if you don't have a competitive advantage, and this is, by the way, the quadrant that most companies live in, is that they've got data quality, they did something in the CRM, but the data is from a Hoover's or an Inside View. It has no competitive advantage. Competitive advantage, which we'll define later, is, in essence, does someone else have your data? And, of course, when you're working with a database, you don't have any exclusivity. So this is actually the quadrant most people are in. They've got some decent data quality. They've got a decent CRM process, but they're lacking uniqueness in their data sets because they're getting it from the same place as everybody else. If you've got all those things, that's when your company has what I'll call scalable brilliance, and that's what we want to shoot for. So our factors that affect the fully powered CRM, we're going to go through them. Let's look at the concept of fresh data first. We hear this all the time. clean, fresh data. Our hashtag today is clean CRM or CRM clean. It's one of those two. So if you look at just the base decay, and what I'm going to do is unpeel the onion here. This is why the data sets from traditional providers are poor. They can't help it. I feel bad for them, right? They can't help it. They do the best they can with the possibility based on the facts. And the facts are the average person in the job, 54 months. That means 4.5 years. That means monthly. Every data set is going to decline 1.85%. Now, that doesn't take into account a lot of other things. Change in promotion. They change working location, a phone number. They add a mobile phone. They change departments, area code changes, email format, or merger and acquisition. When you take all those things into account, the average is somewhere on the IT worker 19% a year that someone's going to change. And without taking into account any of the other things, there's a lot of data decay. A Silicon Valley startup, because of the change in how fast people change jobs there, it's 50% a year. So quick poll here. And the polls here are a great way to find out where you sit. Let's go and launch the poll. So when was the last time you went out and did a major overhaul? When was the last time you did a major overhaul? And one thing also, the numbers are actually much, much worse when the economy is a little stressed. Now keep in mind, those numbers are just based on Department of Labor numbers and don't have into account all those other things. All right, let's go ahead and close the poll. All right, so we're pretty much split down the middle. 50% of people are saying that it's in the last 6 months, and about 50% are saying within the last year. So that's okay, but it's not great. Let's go ahead and move on. Let's see here. Okay. And so if you take all those things into effect, the decay on all factors, it's a lot larger. The first set of numbers was just based on hard, cold Department of Labor statistics. When you look at the numbers of the changing jobs and locations and titles, we're about 4% in an average economy. It means that about 27% average over the year, because, of course, at the end of the year, the first month's of data is going to be 48% outdated, and the last month of data will only be 4%. So 27% over the year. So most of these databases are built over time that people are subscribing to. That's why they're so inaccurate. They really can't help it. So stressed economy that we're looking at right now, we're looking at about 36% within 1 year that a standard database, and that includes your CRM, is going to get outdated. So what's the real cost when you don't have the data accuracy, which is the second major factor in data quality? Well, you lose credibility. The sales rep, in reaching out to people, they lose confidence. Instead of reading off the name, hey, let me talk to Dan, the vice president of sales, what they end up saying is, can I talk to who's in charge of sales? Because they feel worse if they call and ask for Dan as the vice president of sales and he's not there anymore, or he's not currently the VP. It takes so much longer to make a good connection as well. So all those things, from the credibility, confidence you're giving your sales reps, the time, there is a cost to spiral down when you don't have the accuracy out there on the data quality side. Another factor, multi-venue. You'll hear it time and time again in almost every sales trainer. Name and title is not enough anymore. A superior set of CRM data is going to include all that social data, all the basic things, of course, and also things like their biography and who are the other people, multiple points of contact, recent industry events. All those things are important. Multi-venue means multi-data points. Example, my email signature has lots of ways for people to reach out to me and connect with me. I want people to be able to reach out to me. Another factor, built fast. Now, this is not the same as data quality. And think about this. If you commissioned a research firm in 2 weeks to go out and hand verify a list of CRM practice managers like Paul in a very short amount of time, then that's going to be one of the best data sets available. But if you look at, this is an online data aggregator, like a Hoover's or an Inside View, the numbers here. And what you want to ask them is not how good is your data, ask them how old is your oldest data, because that's going to give you an idea of the time that it took to acquire that data. So if you've just got a cross-section, we did this with 4,000 records from Jigsaw or Data.com, and we went through the hand verification process to see, okay, let's take a random set of records, and let's see, we know it's built over about 2-year refresh. Well, it was only 59% accurate. And then if you look at the numbers, just looking at 3% a quarter, I went conservative, 3% a quarter, and you end up with 59.5% inaccuracy. So the supposition of data decay matched the actual going out and verifying. So online data aggregators, because they build it over a 2-year period, it's going to be somewhere around 60% accurate, 40% inaccurate. It's fascinating. So quick poll, and I want you to take a guess of the build time of the last set of data that you purchased. The build time of the last set of data. Do you think if it was an online data aggregator, how long do you think it took them to build that? Alrighty, just reach forward, choose an option, and once we get ready to voting, it takes a few seconds here, we'll close the results out. All right, so the vast majority of people said over the last 6 months. So if you're looking at over the last 6 months, and you're looking at 9% a quarter, so somewhere around 18% right out of the gate, that data is going to be the day it comes into your CRM, and then it's going to continue to degrade at about 4% a month. All righty, let's move on. So another factor in data quality is the concept of normalization. And that simply means that you're making your data adhere to a certain standard. Over 30% of most CRM data is duplicates. And I'm going to throw out that periodic deduping is actually treating a symptom of disease. The solution to make sure that no duplicates ever get into your system again is what I'll call enforced normalization. And enforced normalization is simply the ability to put a shield around your CRM and say, look, any data coming in is going to adhere to a data standard. And that data standard is something we call a data plan. And if it's for a CRM, it's a CRM data plan. Example, do you have a company listed as the container company or container company, comma, the? This is something that every company can do for free. Now, it's not technologically enforced, but you can have a general idea of, okay, for the case of companies, for commas, we don't put them. For Inc., we always write it out. For the, we move it to the end. So this is an example of what every company should have, strategic in place to make sure that people are not entering data haphazardly into the system. Because eventually, people open up a new lead record, a new account, new contact, new opportunity, and they enter bad data. So at least have an agreed-upon standard at your company. That's called the data plan. And they're easy, and they do avoid duplicates from happening in your system. And they save time. And I guess the big question is, do you have a data plan? Does your company currently have a data plan? 3 options: no, you got one but it's not enforced, or yes and it's enforced. Now, I know from doing this webinar that something like 90% of people don't have a data plan. 9% typically do have a data plan, and about 1% have it somehow enforced. All right, so over 90% said no. So pretty much in concordance with what we've seen before. So here's an example. Here's an example. This is a standard CRM report. I pulled up a set of contacts and I dumped them out to Excel. So I want everybody to take a look at this screen. Seems like a lot of points of contact, right? So quick question. How many unique companies do you think were in that last slide? How many unique companies in that last slide? And this this is where as humans, we're not meant to be able to look at data and instantly guess that it's 10 contacts or 20 contacts. Doesn't close the results. Thank you all for voting fast. And over 90% of you said 10 to 15 contacts, right? Okay, so 90% of you said 10 to 15 contacts. Let's take a look. So if we went through with a normalization tool, which basically cleans the data up to a single standard, and then we deduped it, that list of companies was only 3 unique contacts. And that is a great example of what we see in CRMs. Somebody types in R.A.Smith Corp. Somebody types in the container company. Every different way of typing a company name in creates another possible duplicate. So without normalizing your data, you potentially have this issue. It's one of the things that we can show you how to solve very simply. So another concept is verified. Now, the best data out there, and I would be remiss, now we don't do this, but it is a factor of data quality. So any verification step where somebody reaching out, calling, doing full, seeing if they exist, just connecting, or actually talking to the person, all of these make a huge, huge difference in the overall data quality. So here's a question for everybody. Take a look at this here, because this is how we actually get a score on data quality. So if you are sitting out there and you've got your data less than 30 days old, it's 95% accurate, it was built in a 14-day cycle, it's been normalized, scored, and verified, this is the ultimate way to have your data. So I want you to all look at here, because I'm going to ask you to score yourselves in terms of how you do. How would you do on the data quality scale? And there we go. How many points do you think you'd get on the data quality scale? All right, thanks, Brandon. So we're evenly split between 1 and 4 points and 9 and 12. Pretty evenly split. So a lot of improvement that can happen here. A lot of improvement. All right. So the next piece, the next major section after data quality is the concept of, is my data competitive? Do I have a competitive advantage in the data I use? Now, a couple concepts here. If you have the ability to describe companies based on what they're currently doing today, I would contend that that is the best high bar of potentially describing and categorizing companies. Now, most people are stuck with things like SIC codes. And I've got news. SIC codes are absolute dinosaurs. There's a concept called market mapping, which helps you build lists of companies not based on SIC code, but based on how that company describes itself. So imagine if you could go into your CRM and type in something like, well, let me take my company. We sell to a lot of recruiters. If somebody said, Donato, how many recruiter clients do you have? I can click on an industry drop-down, do a report, and boom. If they then said, how many nurse recruiters you had? Well, if I didn't do a process of market mapping, I couldn't tell. But because I have the keywords of how each of those companies describe themselves keyed in my CRM, I can do something like that. So competitive advantage is the ability to very much and very succinctly target your own set of data. Example, if you went out and tried to Google for CRM software, by the time you get out to page 4 on Google, about 4 of 10 results are actually CRM software companies. So you can't do this by Googling. You can't go out and get lists of companies by Googling them. The only way to do it is to integrate into your CRM a process that keeps that company contact information updated. Now, targeting is also important, because if we're reaching out to companies based on how they describe themselves, we're going to be a lot more segmented. Our messaging can be a lot clearer. So targeting is very important. Custom. Now, every business model is different. So is your data that you're getting customized for you? If you're a telesales operation and you're getting emails, it's not going to help you much. Email is a lost form of effectiveness unless you can hugely segment who you're sending a message to. So, for example, let's take the recruiter example again. if I want to send a message out to recruiters, I'm going to get a less than 1% open rate. If I send a list to legal recruiters, I'm going to get a 8 to 10% open rate. If I then send a message to legal recruiters who specialize in IP people, I'm going to get a 50% open rate. So the same data that you have, segmenting it, can resurrect email marketing campaigns that actually be effective again. You can't do that unless you can segment based on a concept like market mapping. Complete, very simple. If you're selling into a certain market, you want to have as much information towards completeness as possible. And completeness also means not a single contact per company, but multiple contacts per company. We've shown that in reaching out, you can get 9 times the effectiveness in a sales call of having 3 points of contact at a company. The problem is most data sets don't have that strength of data. Exclusive, who else has your list? How many other times has your list been sold? Is your list everyone's list? If you're subscribing to an online directory, then it is a commodity, and you have no competitive advantage. So, with all those into effect, how do you think you did with this being the high bar? Now, for a company to do everything like this, very, very hard. With automation technology, not so hard. But it definitely takes some strategic thinking to make something like this happen. So where do you think that you would end up on the competitive advantage scale? Where do you think you'd end up on the competitive advantage scale for your data? A lot of text here. I'll give you guys a second to read it. All right, so it looks like somewhere in the middle. Somewhere in the middle is where the group felt today, somewhere in the 9 to 15 points. Means you're only about halfway there of where you need to go. All right, and we did the poll already. So if we look at taking the two things that we just looked at, we all rated ourselves in data quality. We rated ourselves on competitive advantage. Well, if you've got a fairly low data quality, a fairly low competitive advantage, your sales operations is pretty much in what we call the cold call quadrant. You're going to be going out and not having much information about who you're talking to. The data's not going to be very good, and you're going to be relegated to a quantitative sales method. Well, if you're getting a little bit better in data quality, but you're using the same data everybody else have, then you're going to be in the warm call quadrant, but you're still in a cyclic method. And what I mean by cyclic is, okay, you've got some good data, but you're not getting data that nobody else has. You're calling out a 30-day refresh, a 60-day refresh, seeing if it's the right time. You're not doing sales based on event-driven. Something pops up. Something goes into your CRM because a company contact changed. You get a lead in your CRM waiting for you Monday morning. That is event-driven sales versus cyclic sales. Now, your CRM data tends to be in this quadrant here, which is a qualitative but also cyclic. So you've got better data. It's your clients that you've nurtured or your prospect you've nurtured over years, but you're still in a cyclic type process. That, yes, you've got the good data, but is it the right time to call that person? The highest quadrant you can be in is what I'd call the influence quadrant. And that's qualitative, but you're also making calls, making outreaches, making touch points based on events, a change in title, a new key person of the company. As it happens, then you're in an event-driven, and that's absolutely the best way to do sales. Now, when a new CRM comes into a new lead comes into your CRM, somebody fills out a form. That's the high. It's in the influence quadrant. They're telling you, this is the time to call me. I am raising my hand now for whatever product or solution. So, for example, somebody goes to the ZY site and said, hey, I'm looking for a CRM implementation. That's a hot lead because they're reaching out. It's the right time. But as that data ages, it degrades into the cold call quadrant. For those of you who have marketing automation systems, now Broadlook doesn't do this, but what marketing automation can do is marketing automation can take that data, not lift it up, but keep it up. Maybe I should have some hands there holding it up versus an arrow, because you cannot take bad data and make it good data. If you got bad data, wrong email address, wrong title, Doesn't matter what you do. But if you've got good data and you do touch points and you keep in touch and you make sure you know what's going on, you can keep data fresh. And that's what a combination technology like Broadlook and employing something like a marketing automation system can do for you. Now, the last two quadrants, CRM ready, does incoming data adhere to your data plan? So if you create that data plan on how to treat company names and titles and contacts, is it being enforced in some way? Does your CRM have dedupe? Now, dynamic CRM has great dedupe logic if you've got an exact match. That's the challenge. How do you make sure that the deduping logic, which is fantastic in Dynamics, can actually do its job? You've got to have a data plan, and then it'll work. Are your incoming contacts mashed with things that are already in CRM? This is what we call CRM Mash. And this is a little screenshot we'll be showing you later. The fact that a new contact coming in from the web, Craig, the Vice President General Manager at Software One, was also a lead and a contact in my CRM as it came in, fresh off the press. And, of course, the incoming data is right here, data that came live from a live data source. And, of course, the CRM data over there. Is the data scored coming into your CRM? This is also part of a good process. So the score takes into account how complete the data. Was it cross-referenced? How old was the data? Was it also in leads and contacts, accounts? Did it have social or bio data in it? Is it matched socially? So if I see that Tony Davidson was on LinkedIn, do I see the link of where it came from? Transparent. Can I click on the source of data and go back to where the data came from to verify myself? If I'm making a high-level call, even if it doesn't matter what system tells me this person's there and there's this contact information, if it's a high-level call and I'm doing qualitative outreach, I want to verify those sources myself. Most systems don't give you that capability. Where did it come from? In the system we're going to show you today, we show you that. Is the source documented in each case? And are they actionable to review live of where that data come from? Go to Hoover's, it doesn't say, we bought this data from a magazine list provider that went out of business a year ago. You don't find where the data comes from in most data providers. We actually show you transparency. Event triggers. So do you have the ability to, when something happens in a company, throw it into the CRM and saying, hey, this is new. Not in some web page that you have to go visit, but right inside the CRM. Those things can be accomplished, of course, with workflows. Example of event trigger, new person comes in from a company, and it can go right into a brand new lead in the process. Is the data actionable? Big point as well. Is your data sitting, do you get data and does it sit in your administrator's hands? Because they've got to review it and clean it and figure out how to get a SQL query to get it in or import it in. Every single day, new data that you get that doesn't make it into your CRM ages, it gets worse. Now, why does that happen? Why do people say, here's some data, can you get it into our CRM for us? Why does that happen? Well, because we don't trust what's going to happen. If I get a list from some data provider and I've got one scheme that it adheres to, maybe they put the in front of every company name, but inside your CRM you don't do that, then most people know your CRM administration, it'd be a disaster. That's why they want to take control. So a lot of these things that are set in place are practical of why they happen, but they're not optimal. So if you did have a shield that wrapped around your CRM and cleaned every piece of data to a single standard as it came in, you wouldn't have to worry about your data not being actionable. Because it would be you get it, you move it right in, it goes into the right spot. If there's a dupe, it doesn't copy over or adds to what it has already. So very important. Is it seamless? I'm a big believer, and I believe so is Microsoft with XRM, to be efficient in the future, every major business function should be inside this CRM. Everything from your sales to your website to your accounting, everything should be tied together. In essence, a single point of truth. Because in the future, business will live inside the CRM. Beware of those islands of technology, that you're inside your CRM, you've got your business process working well, but you have to log out of it or open up a new web browser, go to some page, download. It doesn't work. Even if it's a what they call an iframe inside the CRM. It's still an island of technology. If the system isn't measuring somehow, and now we're getting to the CRM process, it's not going to be able to be improved upon. Now, to be sustainable, we have to have something that's refined, documented, repeatable, culturally enforced, and technologically enforced. It's not enough that you say this is how we should get data into our system. What you have to do is have some sort of process that says this is what we're doing to protect any bad data going to our system. It's got to be repeatable. And lastly, it's got to be automated. Now, as we're ending the end of the educational piece here, I ask yourself, how are you getting your leads? Because right now, as far as the influence quadrant that's automated, that's going to give you events as they happen, yes, LinkedIn will have information, but how do I get that? I log into LinkedIn, I go to a particular person, I see what's happening, I look up the next person in my CRM, I log into LinkedIn, I see it's not going to be automated. It's going to be it's not going to be event-driven, meaning you see something happens because it gets put in your system already. Everybody else is somewhere else in the different quadrants. So I'll leave you with a parting thought before I let Paul do some of the demonstrations, which will make clear how we solve these problems and how we said, hey, let's first identify what makes the ultimate data. Then let's build a system that actually does that. So next time you go out, be one time I read off the slides here. You tell your list provider this. I want my list built on demand, generated based on how companies describe themselves. It needs to be 95% inclusive of my target market, and I want 3 points of contact for each company, multiple ways like email and social networks to reach out to them. You must deliver inside my CRM, and you can't sell this list to anybody else. Good luck, right? Good luck. So I want to thank you guys. I'm going to turn it over to Paul now. We can reach out. To get the presentation deck at the end, you can go to broadlook.com/ZY-Solutions. And at this time, Paul, I'm going to hand the presentation over to you.
Great. Thanks, Donato. Thank you for the value-add education there. That was great. And thank you as well, David. And everyone's going to stick around here for the next few minutes. We're going to run through a quick presentation, just how the tools work, these tools that Donato's been referencing throughout the call. And then after that, we will we'll take some questions if there's people who have questions afterwards. Otherwise, feel free to send those over by email as well. So again, we're partnering with ZY Solutions. My name is Paul Solinsky. I'm the CRM Practice Manager here at Broadlook. We have a tool suite called the CRM Suite for Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And as you can see on the screen here, hopefully the screen's coming through, guys, you can have these tools whether it's online or whether the tools are hosted on-premise. It doesn't matter if you're running 4 or 2011, either which way. So we'll run through a couple scenarios. I want to keep this real relevant and just kind of fresh. And how would you use the tools? Let's say, for example, number one, scenario one, you have a new lead in CRM. What do you do next? So I want to share kind of what we do. Here's a lead form on our website, for example, but you could have a lead populate in your CRM in a lot of different ways. Maybe you meet someone at a trade show. Maybe there's a conversation on a golf course or something. Either which way, we're showing a lead coming into CRM. And here's that lead. This is our live CRM. We had someone stop by our website and fill out a form. So this Randy Vanetton is a lead, and I have her name. I don't have a job title, so I'm not sure if she's the right person, but I have a company name and an email address and a website. So as a good salesperson, as a good researcher, I would start doing just that, research. I would go to the company's website, look at the management page. I would go to LinkedIn. I would go look for news stories and press releases. That's the type of information that drives a very tangible sales process. But instead of having to leave CRM and go do all that research, which takes lots of time, I'm not sure if it's hours or it just depends. Instead of doing that research, I can do it right here inside of this lead form. So I click on Profiler. Right here inside of this lead form inside of CRM, I get to click on Profiler, and what comes back is the wealth of information, all that research done for me in real time. So here, I'm no longer stuck with Randy, who I'm not even sure who she was. I'm guessing it's probably the sales info lead. I'm looking at Justin Smith, the president, and Tanya, the director of marketing, and David, the VP of operations. So basically, from one point of contact who's probably the wrong person, or we're not sure, I have all the right people, all the valuable decision makers that I want to reach out to in a valuable sales process. So Justin, the president, all these people come right into CRM when you just have one lead. So you get a lead, it can be automatically profiled, and then all the correct information, all the correct points of contact can be provided to you. Again, lead turns into many points of contact. So that's the first scenario. All right, let's do this quickly, let's run through a couple more scenarios. And bear with me. And here we go. All right, scenario 2. I have a new marketing initiative. Is the one contact, there we go, new marketing initiative, plan-based activity. Do I have fresh contact information to execute this marketing initiative? Maybe I'm going after every hospital in the Midwest, or maybe I am selling specifically to, I don't know, to law firms. Can you have this marketing initiative off the ground and running very quickly? Can you have that set up as an automated process? And the answer is yes. So, for example, here I'm in CRM. I'm going to launch my 2011 version of CRM. And let's let this update. Here we go. So here's CRM, and we're no longer in a sales area. We were looking at leads a second ago in the older version of CRM. Now I'm in 2011, and I'm looking at Broadlook tools, just to show you that this works either in 4 or 2011, independent of which version of CRM you're running. So here we are in Broadlook tools area of CRM. This is an install into your CRM, and I'm on the profiler plans area. Basically, profiler plans are just folders. For example, I have a folder of accounting companies. I might have a folder of maybe all my salespeople. They can have a folder. Maybe Dan Hughes and Bob. They all have their own folder, and they put companies inside of it. But again, you don't have to have this focused on salespeople. You can have vertical focuses like accounting or maybe the Fortune 500. So let's take accounting, for example. So when I open up this plan here, accounting, here I have the scheduling area. So I can, in terms of an automated process, I can schedule these companies I put in this folder to run automatically. And we'll show this in a second, but I have a list of 27 profiler companies, which are just basically companies in this folder. You can see here underneath plan status, there's 27 companies in this folder. So I'm going to actually schedule this folder, these maybe my 27 best clients, or maybe 27 companies of interest. I'm going to schedule them to run on an automated basis. I'm going to say maybe once a week, run these companies and look for fresh contact information. So you can see I can have them scheduled here. I can enable the scheduling and have them run weekly or monthly. And I apologize, some of this is kind of getting squished because of the screen resolution for GoToWebinar. But you can see here that I can schedule these companies to run on an automated basis. And for example, I can use this workflow. So maybe these plans run once a week. Maybe they run once a month. But whenever they run, and if they find new presidents or new CEOs or whatever you're trying to track in CRM, whoever you're trying to sell to and partner with, when those new leads are found by Profiler, it's going to send you maybe an email. Have your workflow set up however you like. ZY Connect and I will work with you and make sure that you have the right workflow. So basically, as changes take place on the internet, as your companies of interest, whether they're your customers or just companies you're trying to sell to, as they hire maybe new CEOs or new marketing directors, be alerted. Have CRM send you an email letting you know that your company of interest hired a new marketing director, and you should be the first one to call them. Maybe they're your best client. You do $10 million a year in revenue with them. Be the first one to reach out and say, hey, this is Paul from Broadlook. We do quite a bit of business with you. You've been clients for a very long time. You're a valued client. I look forward to forming a partnership with you and walking you through how we can help your company and how we've been helping for a very long time. So that's the value of having Profiler. It's an automated way to keep CRM fresh of accurate contact information and also a way to alert you when those changes take place.
Hey, Paul, another thing, too, is now that Microsoft has the activity feeds in the new 2011 version, so instead of an email, what we've been hearing as far as best practices that we would move those alerts not into an email, because emails tend to get lost in our Outlook. We all get too many emails, but actually have it move into an activity feed, and that can also be done by the workflow.
Great point. Yes, exactly. So in conversations with Microsoft, we can either have these alerts come to you by email or activities feed. That's a great point. And activity feeds is a great new, it came in the newest release, the November update. People sometimes call it R7. So definitely speak with ZY Connect if you don't have that new update. Get activity feeds in your CRM. So here we're looking at one company inside of that folder. Here is Baker Tilly. They're basically a company I stuck into the accounting folder. Again, I'm at the accounting folder just inside one of the companies that I put here. This could be my best clients. This could just be maybe a company I want to do business with. So here you can see the actual type of information we pull back. So we scour the internet and pull back all of these contacts, all this contact information from fresh sources. So for example, Kevin Hepner, regional managing partner. We pull back his information from LinkedIn and from the Baker Tilly leadership page. So we're pulling in fresh information and then showing you if it's already in CRM. This is a connections column, it's a little hard to read. But this shows you if they're already in your CRM. Now, in one screen, in one we call it single point of truth, we can see everything there is to know about a company out on the web and then everything inside of CRM. Now, this is kind of a poor example because I'm not currently selling to this company, but let me show you a better example. Let me show you, for example, my accounts. So here we are inside of sales and looking at my current accounts. Now, do I have the right contact information for Adobe Autobody? Do I have the right contacts at Advanced Components? How do I know unless I've researched them recently? Maybe they've hired a new marketing director or a new CEO. You should know about that before anybody else does. That's your competitive advantage. That's what Donato was talking about in terms of competitive advantage in your sales process. So what I do is I just highlight the accounts of interest, make sure I have them highlighted, and then just click on Run Workflow, and then Profile. That's basically engaging Profiler, our tool from Broadlook, to research your companies of interest and find out if you have the right contact information and context for these companies. So after I've profiled this company, let's look at what comes back. So I've actually done this for us a second ago. So here's Broadlook, just one of those companies I've highlighted and asked the system to profile. And what comes back is what you normally have, right? Here's the general form that you have in CRM. Here are the 4 or 5 contacts I normally have at any given company. But then right below that, I have all these great profiler leads. This is Broadlook helping you right here on the spot. So we're pulling back not only those 4 contacts we already had in CRM. You can look in this CRM contact column. It shows you your contacts for this company. And you have leads associated with this company inside of CRM. But look at all the great web data. Look at this fresh information right off the web to help you make a better sales call. So let's take, for example, ZY Connect. Let's say that I'm at ZY Connect, I'm David, and I've been reaching out to Donato, who's in my CRM, right? I can see that he's in my system, he's on my radar, but I really want to sell them on some CRM services, and I can see that there's someone in their radar, there's someone at their company that's not currently in my system, in my CRM, and he has to do with CRM. Here's Paul Solinsky, Director of CRM and B2B. He's not on my radar at all. Like, he's not in my system, on my screen. So I need to make a call to Paul, have some influence on him so he can help me sell CRM to Donato, the decision maker. So in one click, I can highlight this Paul, who's not in my CRM, as a lead or a contact, and then just convert him into CRM data. Basically, profiler leads, all this web data is just that. It's web data. And you have to move it into CRM as CRM data, either with a workflow like this, or you can do it automatically, having those plans scheduled to run. But here's just one example of how I can use the tool and make sure that my CRM data is the best data possible. So from these 4 contacts, yes, these are good people, possibly, but here's all this web data you should be using in your sales process. So, all right, that's Profiler. I showed it in a few ways, showed it using, in the purview of being an account, showing a new lead coming into the CRM, as well as showing you how this can help when you have a planner type approach, scheduling plans to run. Now, we're kind of getting to the top of the hour, so I'm going to breeze through these last couple of tools here. Contact Capture is a great tool from Broadlook. This is one of those ones that's going to be a marketer's best friend. So we look at sample data, for example, maybe a spreadsheet. You come back from a trade show, and you want to eliminate having to manually enter data into the system. So, for example, this spreadsheet here in the middle of the screen, or below, all this data. So how would you easily get this into the system? We've seen that a lot of people copy and paste. They don't take time to configure the spreadsheets and the columns and what you have to do traditionally to populate CRM with data. So instead of doing all that copy and pasting, you just copy it once, you drop it into CRM, right here in Contact Capture, just copy and paste the whole thing, and hit Capture. Automatically, this thing parsed out all that data. Contact Capture parses out your information and allows you to easily and seamlessly add it to CRM as a contact, lead, or account. So we're taking a whole spreadsheet, instead of having to manually enter each piece one by one, doing it all in one fell swoop, and then assigning it to yourself or whoever else you want in your CRM. Now that's Contact Capture. If you noticed some of this data was changed, we actually have a set of rules that normalizes how data can exist. Donato talked at length today about how if you're not normalizing your data, you're setting yourself up for a lot of dirty data. So we have a tool called Serum Shield, and we can work together with this to work together with you on this tool to develop a data plan. So when it comes to company names, as Donato shared, is it the container company or is it container company, comma, the? So basically have a rule set that moves any new data created, for example, the container company, have that the move to the end. So what CRM receives is not the container company, but it receives container company, comma, the. So independent of what your sales and marketing team types into CRM, your data is saved in a fashion that you basically have pre-approved. So, for example, someone types in CEO and founder, all caps, it's saved like this, Chief Executive Officer and Founder. And we can talk more about that. That's a piece that definitely is interesting to people. We do quite a bit of conversation around that and data quality for normalization. So we'll have that dialogue with you offline. So it looks like we're kind of at the top of the hour here. Had a chance to show you 3 tools from Broadlook. Excited to do that. I'm going to pass the control back to Donato. Donato, if you want to show the last couple slides there of that PowerPoint deck from ZY and Broadlook, we'll cap off the conversation there.
Great. And one thing I want to add, go ahead and do the presentation. All right. So one thing I want to add regarding Broadlook data, which is very, very important. All the data you saw was pulled back in real time. So one of the key things we talked about the data age, if you press the button in our system saying, hey, or an automated process says, update what we have in ZY Solutions, the second that process starts, it goes to the ZY website, news groups, blogs, press releases, SEC filings, LinkedIn, all the various sources across the web, millions of places that we've bookmarked, not obviously for ZY, but we bookmarked millions of companies, 24 million companies, interesting places about them every month. So all our searches are real time, are actually done that second. So the data you get back is today's data, not data that's been sitting in a database for 2 years. That's the single biggest difference between the data Broadlook brings back and what everybody else in the industry is doing, which is selling data that has aged. So I'll turn it back over to David if you want to sum up and give the people some action items.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone joining us today. I'd say the best follow-up steps would be for us to connect one-on-one, talk a little bit about how you're dealing with data quality within your organization, also what you're doing from a CRM perspective within your organization, and explore the different options that we have available for you to help deal with that. You can reach me at dfretwell@zysolutions.com. If you prefer to call, my number is 847-242-7008. And of course, you can also reach Paul Selinsky at paul@broadlook.com. Thanks very much. Did we have any questions that we haven't already addressed through the presentation that we wanted to take on at this time?
We do have a question actually that came in. It was from Jane. It was, maybe you want to field this one. It was about actually who provides these lists. You had a question come through about when you showed those lists and how people can build their own lists. Is there a specific partner you suggest they use for building lists, or what was that all about?
Well, I think what I'm trying to point out is that I don't think people should use data providers. I think that they should take control themselves on getting data into their system. So, example, one of the situations that the Broadlook profiler can do, you target a list of your top 2,000 prospects or clients and keep those updated on a regular basis. That's going to be that list, because it starts with competitive info that only your company has, your top 2,000 prospects, that list then becomes yours. We are the process that helps build your list. So we're literally doing the process of teaching people to fish versus giving them a fish and allowing them to grow their own database and keep it clean.
Great, great. David, one came in here about implementing Broadlook. Obviously, you guys are using Broadlook inside of your CRM. Have you seen significant downtime when you did the install? How was the install for you? How did that work out?
No, actually, the install went very quickly. We had a short bit of time that we took the system offline. Maybe we were off for half an hour, 45 minutes, where we did some installation pieces. We were actually up and running by the end of the first day with Broadlook when we put it in place. We've got 3 or 4 people on our team that use it. One that uses it very heavily on a day-to-day basis, and we have seen huge improvements in data quality just over the course of time that we've been working with it. So the implementation process is very simple and straightforward. There are some options for customization that our team can also help with. So, this isn't something that you've got to spend weeks and weeks planning and getting in place. We can actually have you up and running in the matter of just a couple of days.
Great, great. Well, we have some more questions coming in, but it is at the top of the hour. I want to respect our schedule. So I want to thank everyone for coming in. Again, appreciate the time today, and thanks for the great questions. We'll definitely answer these questions offline. I'll have those back to you as soon as possible. And feel free to stop by at broadlook.com/ZY Solutions and we will have the recording there as well as some other great information around today's conversation and topic. So, David, I want to thank you, and Donato, thank you both for presenting today, and I look forward to future sessions.